What if the person you trust the most suddenly starts acting like a stranger? This isn't just a story about marriage. It's about the moment you realize you might be sleeping next to a liar. And trust me, it only gets darker from here. Friday night. The kind of night where you want peace after a long week. I walked in, loosened my tie, and kicked off my shoes. The house smelled like lemon polish. Maria had been by earlier. Everything felt normal. Until Sarah walked in. Yoga gear. Phone glued to her hand. Scrolling like the screen had all the answers. I thought, perfect chance to reconnect. Maybe save the weekend. Any plans for us? I asked, leaning on the counter. Drive up to the lake? That diner you love. She didn't even look up. Just kept scrolling. Her words? I've got my own plans, Tom. You do you. I froze mid-sip. Not anger. Not annoyance. Just cold dismissal. Like I was some coworker, not her husband of 12 years. So I asked again, calm but firm. Care to share those plans? That's when she looked at me. Almost offended I'd even asked. I've got my life. You've got yours. Don't crowd me. That hit harder than a scream would've. Quiet. Cutting. Like I was nothing in my own home. So I nodded. Took another sip of bourbon. Fair enough. I'll make my own plans. I walked out, no slam doors. Just silence. But inside I knew. This wasn't just a mood. This was the beginning of something ugly. And if I'd known just how ugly, I'd have packed that night. The next morning I was gone. Lake trip. Just me and my buddy Mike. Fishing, beers, a break from Sarah's cold shoulder. No note. No explanation. She wanted space, fine. But halfway there my phone buzzed. Sarah's text. Where are you? I typed back. At the lake. You said you had plans. No emojis. No softening. Just facts. Mike looked at me, cracked a beer and asked. Trouble in paradise? I shrugged. She wants distance. She's got it. But deep down I knew it wasn't just space she wanted. And when I got home Sunday night, the look in her eyes told me one thing. This game was just getting started. What Sarah did next made me realize space wasn't the only thing she was asking for. And trust me, you don't want to miss what happened after. When you draw a line in a marriage, you find out real fast if your partner's willing to cross it. And Sarah? She wasn't just crossing lines, she was erasing them. Carla looked up from her notepad, her pen freezing mid-scribble. Everything okay, Tom? You've been sharper lately. I forced a shrug, heading for my office. Just prioritizing. Let me know if the client reschedules. She nodded, but I could feel her eyes on me as I closed the door. Carla's not one for gossip, but she notices things. Always has. I didn't explain. No need. Instead, I spent the afternoon reworking my calendar, my life, really. No more leaving weekends wide open, waiting for Sarah to decide whether I was worth her time. First move? A golf trip with Mike and a couple of his crew. 4 hours away, a course we'd been talking about for years. I booked it. No permission slip needed. Second move? I called Greg, my accountant. A cautious man, all monotone voice and endless clauses from the tax code. Pull our joint accounts. Make them separate. Personal, not business. Clean. Greg hesitated. You sure? That's a big step. I'm sure, I said. She wants her life, she can pay for it. He paused again, like he was giving me one last chance to change my mind. You know she's going to flip when she sees this. Let her, I said flatly. Just get it done. That evening, I walked into the kitchen. Sarah was there, attacking carrots like they'd personally insulted her. The radio blasted some pop song she normally hated. We're having dinner with the Hendersons tomorrow, she said without looking up. Don't forget. The Hendersons. Jim, the lawyer who never shuts up about his cases. And Linda, the kind of neighbor who smiles sweet but asks questions like she's building a case file. I leaned on the counter. Measured. I'm out tomorrow night. Sarah froze, knife midair. Since when? Since today. You've got your plans. I've got mine. Remember? Her lips tightened, but she didn't fight. Fine. I'll tell them you're busy. Do that, I said, grabbing an apple and heading upstairs. I heard her mutter something under her breath, but I didn't bite. She wanted independence? I could match that energy. The next night, I wasn't at the Hendersons. I was at a downtown bar with Mike and his brother Dan. The place buzzed with noise. TVs blasting sports highlights, glasses clinking, laughter spilling over from every booth. We were talking shop, mostly supply chain headaches, when my phone buzzed. A text from Sarah. Linda asked where you are. What do I say? I typed back, tell her I'm working. Enjoy your night. Then I silenced the phone and waved the bartender for another round. Dan grinned, leaning across the table. You dodging the wife already? Not dodging, I said, sipping my beer. Just living my life. Mike smirked. She's going to hate that. Dan laughed, loud enough for the next table to hear. Man, Sarah's always had you on a short leash. What's this? Rebellion? You finally growing a pair? I shot him a look but kept it light. Not rebellion. Just clarity. She wants space. I'm not begging for it back. Dan raised his glass. Respect. My ex pulled that same, my life, your life, crap. Lasted a month before she was crying for me to cover her bills. Mike elbowed him. Don't jinx the man. Tom's playing it smart. Smart's one word for it, Dan muttered. Just watch, women like that. They'll twist it. Make you the bad guy. Not happening, I said firmly. She sets the rules. I set the boundaries. Mike gave me a look, serious now. You ready for the fallout? Sarah's not the live and let live type. She'll learn, I said, finishing my drink. Or she won't. Either way, I'm done waiting. When I got home, Sarah was waiting. Arms crossed, TV muted. You couldn't even show up for one dinner? I hung my jacket, come. You didn't ask me to show up. You told me I had plans. You're being ridiculous, she snapped. It's the Hendersons. Our neighbors. Then you entertain them, I said, walking past. I'm not your plus one on demand. She followed me to the stairs, her voice rising. What's your problem, Tom? You're acting like a jerk. I stopped, turned. My problem is you thinking you can run my schedule. You wanted space, you've got it. But don't expect me to sit around waiting for scraps. Her eyes narrowed, lips pressed tight. For a second, I thought she'd explode. Instead, her voice softened, almost pleading. You're making this harder than it needs to be. No, I said. You did that. I walked upstairs, closed the door, and started packing for the golf trip. If she thought this was a bluff, she was about to learn otherwise. A week later, Mike hosted a barbecue. His backyard was alive. Smoke from the grill, laughter from every corner, the smell of burgers and charcoal thick in the air. Sarah came too. She was with Mike's wife, Karen, laughing a little too loud, sipping wine like it was water. I was at the grill, flipping burgers, beer in hand, when Sarah wandered over. Having fun? She asked. Light tone. But her eyes carried that edge I'd seen before. Yep, I said, not looking up. She leaned closer, her wine glass dangling loosely. You're embarrassing me, Tom. You've barely spoken to anyone. I set the tongs down. Turned toward her. I'm here, aren't I? Or do I need to perform for you now? Her smile stayed plastered on, but her eyes went cold. Don't make a scene. I stepped closer. Voice low, but loud enough for Mike, Karen, and a few others nearby to catch it. I'm not making a scene, Sarah. But let's be clear. I'm here because I chose to be. Not because you snapped your fingers. If that's a problem, we'll discuss it later. Alone. Mike glanced over, eyebrow raised. Karen coughed into her drink, eyes darting between us. From behind, I heard Tony, a wiry guy from Mike's crew, chuckle. Sarah's face tightened. But she didn't push. Instead, she turned back to Karen, her laugh too high, too forced. Like she was proving something. Karen leaned toward her, whispering. Not low enough. Girl, if you're not careful, you're gonna lose him. And Sarah's smile faltered. Just for a split second. She thought she was the one holding the cards. But that night, I found out Sarah had been playing a much bigger game, and I wasn't the only one at the table. There's a moment in every broken marriage where you stop asking for answers and start writing your own. For me, that moment came the night I told Sarah I was moving out. But before that, she tried to play games in public, and I wasn't about to fold. Karen leaned towards Sarah at the barbecue, her voice low but not low enough. "Everything okay, Sarah? You two seem tense." Sarah waved it off, her smile thin as glass. "Oh, you know Tom. He's just in one of his moods." I flipped another burger, my voice calm but clear enough to carry. "Not a mood, Sarah. Just clarity. You should try it sometime." Tony from Mike's crew let out a sharp laugh, raising his beer. "Damn, you don't mess around." Karen shot him a glare, then took Sarah by the arm. "Come on. Let's get another drink. Let the boys play grill master." Sarah followed, but I caught the glance she threw back at me. Her jaw tight, her eyes colder than the beer in my hand. Mike slid up next to me, handing over another bottle. "That was smooth," he said, half smirking. "Had to be said," I muttered, checking the burgers. "Careful," he warned, though his tone was half joking. "She's got that look like she's planning something." "Let her plan," I said. "I'm done playing defense." That night, I didn't ride home with Sarah. Told her I had an early meeting and took my truck. She didn't argue, but I saw her jaw clench as she got into her car. She wasn't used to me drawing lines in public. Let her adjust. The next evening, I had a last-minute client dinner at a downtown steakhouse. Sarah insisted on coming, calling it good for networking. I didn't fight it. She could work a room when she wanted, but I wasn't walking in blind. The table stretched long. Me, Sarah, my client Jim, his wife Ellen, and Carla, my assistant, taking notes. Jim was loud, full of handshakes and bad jokes. Ellen? Quiet, sharp-eyed, watching everyone like a chess player. Halfway through the main course, Sarah leaned across the table. Her voice sweet but aimed like a blade. "Tom's been so busy lately, Jim. I barely see him. Guess he's married to the job now." Jim chuckled, thinking it was banter. "Man's got to hustle, right, Tom?" I set my knife down. Looked at Sarah. "Funny. I thought you wanted your own life, Sarah." "I'm just keeping up." Her smile faltered, but she covered quick. "Oh, don't be dramatic. I'm just saying you're hard to pin down." Carla froze mid-note, eyes flicking to me. Ellen raised an eyebrow, sipping her wine slow. I leaned back, steady. "I'm right here, Sarah. But I don't show up on command. You want me around? Say it straight. Otherwise, let's eat." Silence hit the table like a dropped plate. Jim cleared his throat, desperate to change the subject. "So, Tom, about that new route we discussed." Sarah cut him off with a laugh that was all porcelain and no warmth. "Oh, Jim, don't mind Tom. He's just adjusting to some changes." I turned my gaze on her, voice even but sharp enough to slice. "No, Sarah. I'm setting terms. There's a difference." Then I turned back to Jim. "Let's talk routes. I've got the numbers ready." Carla shot me a glance, half impressed, half nervous. Ellen leaned closer to Sarah, her voice low but pointed. "You okay, hon?" That sounded pointed. Sarah waved it off, smile brittle as cracked glass. Just Tom being Tom. I didn't engage. I closed the deal, shook hands, and left alone. Told Sarah I had paperwork to finish. She didn't argue, but I could feel her eyes drilling into my back as I walked to my truck. The next morning, I made a call. Not to Sarah. To Diane. A sharp realtor who'd helped me land a warehouse last year. We met at a coffee shop, the air thick with burnt espresso. She slid a folder across the table. "Condos. 1 bedroom. Clean, simple." "You moving?" she asked, stirring her lot. "This is sudden." "Not sudden," I said, flipping through listings. "Just practical. I need something close to work. No fuss." She nodded, professional but curious. "All right. I've got 3 lined up for tomorrow. Any specifics? You and Sarah splitting time or?" "Just me," I cut in, closing the folder. "Keep it quiet. I'll handle the rest." Her brow lifted, but she didn't push. "Got it. I'll text you the addresses." That night, Sarah sat at the dining table with a glass of wine and her laptop. "You're late," she said without looking up. "Had a meeting," I replied, grabbing water. "What's up?" "Nothing." Her tone clipped, deliberate. "Just thought you'd want to know I'm going out with Karen tomorrow. Girls' night." "Sounds good," I said, heading for my office. "Have fun." She paused, waiting for me to ask where, with who, for how long. I didn't. I shut the door and pulled up Diane's listings. By midnight, I'd picked one. Clean, modern. Hardwood floors, wide windows, city view. Perfect. I texted Diane. "Set up a viewing tomorrow." The place was better in person. Right? Spacious. A short walk to the office. "I'll take it," I said, signing the lease on the spot. Diane raised an eyebrow, sliding me the keys. "You work fast." "Always," I said, pocketing them. "Thanks for keeping it quiet." When I got home, Sarah was on the couch scrolling her phone. "You're late again," she said, sharp this time. "Had a meeting," I said, grabbing a beer. "Signed a lease today. Moving downtown next week." Her phone slipped from her hand, clattering to her lap. "What?" "You heard me," I said, leaning against the doorway. "You wanted your life, I'm giving it to you. I'll be out of your hair." Her face froze. Shock, disbelief, anger, all flashing at once. And for the first time in a long time, she had no words. She thought she was holding the reins. But when I dropped that bomb, I saw something flicker in her eyes. Not fear. Not sadness. Something worse. And I knew right then. Sarah wasn't about to let me walk away that easy. They say every marriage has cracks. Ours wasn't cracked anymore, it was shattered. The only question left was whether Sarah thought I'd keep bleeding or finally walk away. "You're moving out?" Sarah's voice was sharp, but there was a wobble underneath, like she hadn't expected me to actually call her bluff. "Yeah," I said flatly. "I'll keep covering my half of the mortgage until we figure out the house. After that, you're on your own." She shot up from her chair, anger and panic written all over her face. "You can't just do that, Tom. We're married." "Doesn't feel like it," I replied, sipping my beer. "You wrote the rules. I'm just finally following them." Her jaw clenched. "You're being ridiculous. Throwing away 12 years over what? A bad week." I didn't blink. Not a week. A pattern. And I'm done. For once, she didn't have a comeback. I left her standing in the kitchen while I went upstairs and started packing a bag. She didn't follow me. From that night on, Sarah sharpened her knives in quieter ways. At dinners with friends, she'd slide in little jabs masked as jokes. "Oh, Tom's too busy for us now," she'd say with a laugh that was too tight to be funny. Or she'd forget to tell me about plans, then act like I was the one dropping the ball. But I stopped playing defense. One evening at dinner with her coworker Rachel and Rachel's husband Paul, Sarah went on the offensive again. Midway through appetizers, she leaned forward, voice dripping with that fake sweetness everyone else mistook for charm. "Tom's been so independent lately. Guess he's got better things to do than spend time with me." Rachel chuckled politely, Paul raised an eyebrow. I set my fork down, looked her dead in the eye. "Funny. I thought independence was what you wanted, Sarah. I'm just respecting that." Her smile cracked, then snapped back into place. "Oh, come on, don't be so sensitive." "I'm not sensitive," I said, calm but sharp. "I'm just not here for your performance. If you've got something real to say, say it. Otherwise, let's eat." The table went silent. Paul smirked behind his glass. Rachel shifted, clearly uncomfortable. Sarah laughed it off, but her eyes told a different story. That was the moment I knew she hated something more than losing me, losing control. The final straw came a week later. I was pacing the living room, mid-call with a client, when Sarah stormed in waving her phone like evidence. "I need money for a spa weekend with Karen. Next week." I held up a finger, finished my call. Then turned. "You've got your own account." She barked a bitter laugh. "Oh please. It's our money, Tom." "No," I stepped closer, voice low and steady. "It's my money. You wanted your own life, remember? That includes paying for it." Her eyes narrowed. Don't be petty. Everyone knows you're the one with the paycheck. Then use your paycheck, I shot back. I'm not your ATM anymore. Her voice rose, sharp enough to rattle the windows. You think you can just cut me off? After everything? After everything? I repeated, holding her stare. You mean after you shoved me out of your life? I'm just following your lead. She waited for me to fold. I didn't. She finally turned, stormed out, and peeled out of the driveway. That was it. Line crossed. No going back. The next day, I signed the lease on a condo downtown. Modern. When Sarah showed up later, her heels snapping across the hardwood, she looked around with contempt. What is this, Tom? You're really living here? Yep, I said from the couch. I'm done playing your game. My game? She laughed, too loud, too forced. You're the one running off like a child. Stop, I cut in, my tone flat. You don't get to rewrite this. You wanted space, control, your own life. Congratulations. You've got it. Without me. She froze, searching my face for weakness. You're serious? As a heart attack, I said, walking to the door. Good luck, Sarah. For once, she didn't have the last word. 6 months later, the condo is quiet, steady. Sarah's still in the house, still spinning her stories to friends about my midlife crisis. Let her. I don't care. For the first time in years, I'm not chasing, not begging, not bleeding. I'm just living. And it feels damn good.